I'm WG and this is a CZN character showcase. 4 days is all that's left until the game finally releases, and today's topic is the only 5-star support in the game, Orlea. As usual, we started off with the character combat motion. Right, so here we are with the character's combat motion to check out if there's any changes between the way they were doing the limited playtest and the current version. As due to popular request, we are now on the right side because I was supposedly hiding assets.
Kami no kotoba o kiki ni kite kureta? Mata nimmu? Mendokusai. Kami no na de meijiru? 天上の地位を始末しなさい。まばゆい奇跡です。さあ、癒してあげるね。仕方ないね。光よ。
Alright, time to look at the changes. As I've said before, Orlea is the only 5-star support, so the controller class. As you can see right here, we have 4 4-stars in Cassius, Mika, Nia and Ray, and Orlea currently being the only 5-star out of the support faction. If any of you want to refresh your memory, want to do some research yourself, want to get some overview of which partners or weapons to pair with which character, which teams to expect to use early, or beginner teams, those are already up on the website. You can check it out yourself, cznmeta.com, also link in the description. Enough yapping, we have a character to get into, and that is Orlea. So Orlea, let's have a look. Right, so there's only exactly one change from the way we seen her during the limited playtest and the way she's in the video, and that is the salvation card actually now goes from a 5 cost or from a 6 cost down to a 5 cost. And now if you're wondering, but what about the Will of Light? Wasn't it a 2 cost during the video? Yes, but that is because for some reason the game decided to give me 2 of her during the limited playtest, and her first awakening gives this card the preserve effect, as well as also reducing its cost from a 2 cost to a 1 cost. Have a double attack standard at just 100%. The 6% come from potential investments that I made during the limited playtest. I fixed that when we actually get into the game. But yeah, so you have a double 100% attack and a 100% heal, followed by the first special card, and that is the Sacred Censer. The Sacred Censer has the Outbreak of War tag, meaning it will always be in your hand at the beginning of any battle. And what it does is it generates creation cards. Now the creation cards are the slimes we've talked about, the most important part about Orlea's kit. And let's actually have a look at them before we get any further. So these are the stars, or I guess you could say these are the slimes with their star rating. These star ratings go from 1 all the way to 3 stars, and the way these slimes work is that you have them on your hand, and should you get a equal slime, so if you have a purple 1-star slime, blue 1-star slime softie, and you get another softie, you can combine them, and they combine together into a softie 2-star, and then that combines into a softie 3-star. That's the way it goes, and you can get these out of multiple avenues at multiple different levels. And yeah, let's have a look at what they actually do. So there's 3 different types. There is the softie that has the exhaust tag, meaning the moment you play it, it goes into your banished pile, so you won't be able to draw it again. The retain tag, meaning that you keep it in hand even if you don't play it. And the creation tag, which is just a special tag that currently has no other interactions besides Orlea, so it stands to reason that in the future we'll get more characters with the creation tag, and you can kind of play like a creature archetype, if that makes sense. And then, so yeah, the softie says for 1 turn, increase damage dealt by 10% if you play it out, but if you retain this card, increases the damage of the next attack card used by 5%. And the important part is this works for the next turn. So just having the Softy on your hand actually increases your attack card damage during the next turn by 5%. For the Swifty, it deals 60% damage, and every turn you keep it on hand, it adds 40% to it, so 60, 100, 140, 180, 220, 260, 300, and the like. And then we have the Tuffy, which has a 80% shield if you play it out, or it heals you for 30% of Orlea's HP. And that happens at the end of every single turn because you retain this card in hand. So this is permanent healing, a shield for emergencies, this is stacking damage, and this one is a passive damage increase, or a bigger one if you play out the card itself. Then we have the upgraded versions, which just increases the multiplier, so a 20% should you play it, 10% for the next turn should you retain it, 120 start every turn plus 80, and a 160 shield and a heal for 60% every single turn. Also important to note is you can have multiple of these cards in your hand at any one time, so long as you don't go over your hand limit. So you could, for example, have 2 or 3 of these Tuffies in hand and they would all heal you for the retain effect. Then lastly, we have the big ones, which are the 3-star versions. You deal 35% increased damage should you play it out, or if you retain it, the next attack card played does 20% more damage. The Swifty actually starts at a ridiculous 200%, and every single damn turn it gets 150% extra damage. So 200, 350, 500, 650, 800, 950, 1100%. It is kind of ridiculous. And then we have the Tuffy, which gives you a massive 250% shield, or it heals you for 100% every single damn turn you keep it in hand. So these are the key to her, and as you have also noticed, they all cost you nothing. So those are the cards you can create, and what this does, it just creates 2 random 1-star creations. It could be any of these, like for example, it could be 1 Softy and a Swifty, Swifty and a Tuffy, Tuffy and a Softy, or it could be 2 Softies that then combine into a level 2 version. Next up we have the Growth Acceleration, which heals you for 50%, and you can select one of your own cards in hand and trigger the preserve effect of that card twice. So for example, you could go look at your slimes, and let's say you have a 2-star Swifty in hand, you could trigger this plus 80% effect twice, so now this would already be dealing 120% plus 160%, so 280% total without you having to wait any turns. So that is the way the Growth Acceleration works. Then you have Annoying. Annoying deals 40% damage equal to the number of cards in your hand. So if you have 5 cards in hand, that is 200%, and if you have 10 cards in hand, that is 400% fixed damage. It is a very, very potent attack tool, and it also again costs you nothing to use. Then we have the Growing Creature, which has the retain tag, and you can either play it out instantly to get 1 creation card at 1 star, or you retain this card in your hand and this card changes into a 3-star creation. Now the important part here though is, if you play out this card, it goes into your graveyard, into your deck, right? And then you can pull it again. Should you keep it in your hand though, it is going to change into a 3-star card and kind of sacrifice itself for that 3-star creation, so you won't be able to pull the Growing Creature again for the whole duration of the fight. Lastly, Will of Light, the ability to retain it again so you can play whenever you want, and then you have a 200% heal, and you activate the preserve effect of all cards in hand, meaning every single preserve card or every single card with the retain tag is going to trigger its reserve/preserve effect 1 time should you play out the Will of Light, opening or ending with the ultimate, which generates 1 of each 2-star creation, so a 2-star Swifty, Softy, and a Tuffy. Cute names, but also kind of weird to talk about them that much. But yeah, here we go with the Sacred Censer and the Epiphanies, because obviously we are not at an end yet, and that is the first one, just gives you 3 1-star creations. The second one turns it into a passive. It also gets the lead tag, meaning the turn you have it on your hand, there's a 50% chance for this card to reduce its cost by 1 should you decide to play this as the first card during your turn. It's a bit of a convoluted effect, but pretty much it's, you have a card on your hand and then there's a 50-50 that the cost gets reduced by 1, but it only works should you play this card as the first card in your turn. So what this does, it generates yeah, it generates 2 creation cards the moment you play it, and then at the start of every single following turn, you get one star creation created, and then they can merge together and create bigger creations. Wow, very creative. Then the third one is you generate a softie, so you can target for a softie, which is, as a reminder, the damage increasing one. And then upon the next use, so so you generate one softie and one creation, one card, and then upon you use it the next time, you generate a softie. Then this one generates a swiftie, and creation cards increase the damage of the next swiftie used by 40%, so that every time you use a creation card, you increase the damage of the swiftie used. And then with the last one, you generate a toughie, and the creation cards upon next toughie use, you gain 150% shield. So the next toughie you use gives you a 150% bigger shield. So the way this works is simple. It's like a buff, right? You generate a softie, and if you use a softie, you get a softie. You generate a swiftie, and if you use creation cards, you increase the damage of the next swiftie, and you create a toughie, and should you use that toughie, the shield is bigger. Nah, that's the way these works. Specifically interesting are definitely number 1 and 2, or one of those if you want to focus on survivability, boosting, or damage dealing. And then we have the growth acceleration, where with the very first one, you reduce the cost down to 0, you heal for 50%, and you can select one card in hand and trigger the preserve effect twice, because this says select one of your own cards. This one says select one card in hand, so you can trigger any card. Then we have the growth acceleration exhaust, meaning that you can only play this once per fight, but what it does is it heals you for 50%, and you can select one of your creation cards in hand and duplicate it. So for example, should you have a 3-star toughie, you can use this card and have 2 3-star toughies on hand that would then heal you for twice the value, but it did also increase the cost. And then we have the third one, which heals you for 100%. You select one of your own cards, you trigger the preserve effect twice. Tada! But if the card you selected is a softie, meaning the one that gives you the permanent or also activatable damage increase, then you also apply 2 stacks of vulnerable to all enemies, meaning the next 2 hits taken by any enemies are 50% stronger. Then here you have a 100% heal, blah blah blah, stays the same. But if you use this on a swiftie, you trigger the retain effect 3 times. Meaning that the swiftie is going to trigger the damage bonus increase 3 times instead of the 2 times. And then here you heal for 100%, and then you trigger the effect twice. And if the card is a toughie, you can reduce your allies' stress levels. Ally stress levels can be very important, and especially in higher difficulties or the like, or coming into scenarios where you don't really want your units to go, bad shit. That is very useful to be very useful to have the ability to just reduce ally stress. And yes, we will have like a combat guide and the like moving closer to launch, seeing as how we're pretty much only 4 days away. And then next up we have the annoying, where you have, if you have 6 or more cards in hand, you also heal for 150%, everything else stays the same. This one deals 100% damage and then plus 100% damage by the number of creation cards in your hand. So you deal 100% damage, you have 5 creations, 5 slimes in hand, all of a sudden you deal 600% damage total. Also obviously the cost increase to 1. This one is the cost increase to 3 with 450% fixed damage, but every time you keep this card in hand, you reduce its cost by 1, meaning after 3 turns you'll be able to play this out and deal 450% damage. Then here you deal 3 hits of 60% and 2 random enemies, and you create 1 creation card for each target hit. So there's a chance you either hit the same target 3 times, giving you 1 creation, you hit 2 targets, you get 2 creations, or you hit 3 targets and you get 3 1-star creations. And then for the last one you have a cost increase of 1, a retain effect, meaning you again can just keep this in you can keep it in hand as long as you want. And then while this card is in hand, you increase the damage by 100% based on the number of creations generated. So every single time you create a creation, this card gains 100% damage. Last epiphany. So we have the growing creature epiphany, in that you generate 1 creation card, or if you preserve this, meaning you keep it in hand, you generate 1 creation card. Ignore that bracket FC, that's just, it's not going to be there during launch, trust me on that one. Then we have the ability to retain, you generate 1 card, and if you preserve it, you change the card to creation 2-star and generate 1 creation 1-star card for each. So you get a 2-star and 3 of the 1-stars. Then here you change the, you still generate 1 card should you play it, but if you keep it, you get a softie and also apply the 2 stacks of vulnerable, so similar to the prior effect. Or here you gain a Swifty, and that Swifty already gets in with double stacks, so 300% extra damage. Or a Toughie, and you apply 3 vulnerable to all enemies. So the 5th and the 3rd are pretty much very similar. So that was everything you need to know about her standard kit. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's not quite all. Next up is the potential section, and this is by far the easiest thing to reach. You can pretty much get that day 1 should you decide to invest into her, and that is that all of a sudden your basic attack cards, so attack everyone that you have twice, now also has a 30% chance to generate 1 creation card, meaning every 3rd basic attack on average you should be getting a additional 1-star creation. So now we have the awakenings, and this is the moment you get your second copy, as I've already talked about briefly in the beginning. For whatever reason the game decided to give me 2 during the limited playtest, but yeah, this is the ability to keep the Will of Light until you want it to be used, and also reduce the cost of it, allowing you to just play it more often because it's cheaper. And then the second one is when a creation card evolves into a 3-star card, retain is triggered, meaning that you should either, if you go into a 3-star Toughie, you heal. If you go into a 3-star Softie, you boost your damage of the next attack card play. And if you go into a Swifty, you increase the damage already by an additional 150% upon it becoming a 3-star card. So this is how the M3 looks like, the 4th total copy. What it does, it creates 1 card of each at 2 stars, but then also simultaneously evolves all of these cards to 3 stars, meaning the moment you play this card, you do also trigger the M2 effect. So you get the extra healing, the extra damage, and the extra damage increase for the next attack card. So instead of it creating 3 stars straight up, it creates 2 stars and then evolves them just to trigger that M2. Then we have the M4. If holding a creation card in hand, all allies damage is increased plus 10%. That's just a straight up good awakening. You just, as long as you have any creation cards in hand, all of a sudden your allies deal 10% more damage. Like, come on. And then we have the M5, so your 6th total copy just increases the damage, shield gain, and healing amount of any cards used by Orlea by 6%. And then very much the last one is that when Orlea uses a creation card, so you play out a creation card, you deal fixed damage equal to the star level times 100%. So a 1-star creation deals 100% damage to all enemies, 2-star creation deals 200%, and a 3-star creation deals 300% damage to all enemies. Bringing us to another thing we can already have a look at, and that is the potential partners. And out of all the partners, obviously the 4-star options, especially Arven, is someone you should be looking out for, because Arven is just really, really strong in the whole effect. You can read through it and you'll see it. But she has a dedicated 5-star partner, and what this partner does is this partner only works with Orlea because she's currently the only retain controller in the game. So Noelle is pretty much not that useful on anybody else but just on her. Overall, what she does is that when the assigned combatants retain cards, just overall gain 15% increased damage, shield gain, and healing. So a Toughie shields you more, a Toughie heals you more, and a Swifty deals more damage. And then at the end of the turn, you deal fixed damage to all enemies equal to 15% for each retained card of the assigned combatant. So should you have 4 creations in hand, that's 4 times 15%, so a 60% AoE at the end of every turn. As well as also plus 5% for damage for enemies with the instinct attribute, meaning that if you go into a fight and your enemy is weak to instinct, they take an additional 5% damage extra. And then you have the ego skill of the partner, and that is you heal yourself by 100% and you activate the retain effect of all cards held by the assigned combatant, so you can upgrade or use the retain effect of every single one of Orlea's creations so long as they are in your hand once. Then just lastly, as a brief overview, if you're looking for, or for whatever reason you decide to pull Orlea and you just want to play her In her role, we have the beginner team, which is just Orlea plus any of the 4 free units in the best combination, which is the following. And then the early team, in which you have Orlea and then just any of the 4 stars instead of a double 5-star team. Peace.